Hi everyone, here's some of us heading your way tonight. Your news at 9.
I'm Caroline Shively in Wilmington, Delaware, where Joe Biden says his chances of becoming the next president are good. I'll have more on that story coming up.
The Trump campaign is filing lawsuits and demanding a recount. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. The latest reaction from the Trump campaign on why they believe they can still win.
The election may be over, but it could be a while before we know who the next president of the United States is. I'm Chris Warner with whether or not this is unusual and what happens next.
Doug Hedia's weather tonight. This is KOM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abbey. An escaped inmate is caught in Lamar, Missouri, and officials credit alert citizens. Yesterday evening, Christian Myers, right there, escaped from custody while at Cedar County Memorial Hospital in El Dorado Springs. 2 people at a Casey's convenience store in Lamar recognized Myers at the store. There was a social media post with Myers' picture. Myers was arrested before he left that Casey's convenience store. 2 former Delaware County, Oklahoma jailers plead guilty to charges they tased inmates without just cause. The case involves Charles Hayes, Shelley Mayberry. Hayes pled guilty to 7 counts of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. He gets a 7-year deferred sentence and is placed on probation. Court also ordered Hayes to pay more than $24,000 in fines and court costs. He's barred from working in law enforcement or corrections for the time of the deferment. Mayberry gets a 5-year deferred sentence and probation for 2 of the 7 counts filed against her. She also cannot work in law enforcement or corrections. A woman is dead after a crash today involving a Joplin School District utility van. No passengers were in the van. Happened this morning near Joplin's 20th Street Bridge right there close to the high school. Police say 31-year-old Lauren Safley of Joplin was killed when her car crossed the center line, hit the van head on. A passenger in her car and the driver of the van were both taken to the hospital. Authorities say her passenger is in critical condition. All right, Doug Heddy joining us now with our first look at weather. 9:02 is the time. The temperature is still awesome for November.
Yeah, really good. We've had a nice stretch of about 5-6 days of pretty good weather after all the rain, even some ice that we had last week. But today, all the way up to 77 degrees, so a fantastic day across the region. We are going to be a hair cooler over the next few days, but still, hey, we'll definitely take it. Some clouds rolling through. There's a weak little wave that is pushing through, and that's what's giving us the clouds. Nothing underneath the clouds, but what this will do is cool us down 3 or 4 degrees for us tomorrow. It's still 60 right now. Nice southerly winds keeping our temperatures up for us tonight. We do have changes down the road. We're going to look at that here in just a bit.
Thank you. We're still awaiting final numbers on the presidential race, but here in the 4 states, voters made it pretty clear who they want in the White House. Every county in our area favored President Trump. In this list, take a look at it. The counties with the highest percentage vote for the president are at the top. That president received more than 80% of the vote in 4 counties in our viewing area. Those were Barton, McDonald, Wilson, Woodson counties. The highest for former Vice President Biden reached in any area county was 39% of the vote. That was over in Labette County. In Crawford County, Kansas, Biden had 38%. Former Vice President Joe Biden addressed the 2020 election in a short speech in Wilmington, Delaware today. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively is in Wilmington with the latest on what Mr. Biden had to say.
Former Vice President Joe Biden hopes soon to become President Joe Biden, but says becoming the 46th president may take a little more time.
Let me be clear. We are campaigning as a Democrat, but I will govern as an American president.
One day after Election Day, and Joe Biden worked to sound presidential, though not officially declared the nation's next commander-in-chief.
I will work as hard for those who didn't vote for me as I will for those who did vote for me.
Still, the former vice president stopped short of an acceptance speech.
After a long night of counting, it's clear that we're winning enough states to reach 270 electoral votes.
Wednesday, Biden was declared the winner of several hard-fought swing states, including Wisconsin and Michigan.
Senator Harris and I are on track to win more votes than any ticket in the history of this country.
The Democratic contender didn't mention President Trump directly, but did point out that only 3 incumbent presidents in the history of U.S. politics have not been reelected to a second term.
When it's finished, God willing, we'll be the 4th.
On Twitter, Biden reacted to the president's threats of a court battle, calling for donations to the newly formed Biden Fight Fund to, quote, make sure every vote is counted.
We, the people, will not be silenced. We, the people, will not be bullied. We, the people, will not surrender.
Biden officials may not have declared victory, but they do have a transition website saying it will help them hit the ground running on day one. In Wilmington, Delaware, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
The Trump campaign making a bold move to declare a victory in Pennsylvania despite ballots still being counted in the Keystone State. They are filing a lawsuit claiming poll watchers are not being given proper access to the process. Comes as the president's path to 207 electoral votes, as we've been hearing about, continues to narrow. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard reports from Washington.
The Trump campaign playing hardball, accusing Democrats of trying to steal the vote in Pennsylvania. Plus, they've filed lawsuits which could delay election results.
They're trying to cheat us out of it because they know it's their only path to victory.
Members of the president's inner circle are accusing Democrats of cheating in Pennsylvania. The campaign has filed a lawsuit demanding that mail-in votes received after Election Day not be counted.
We have no idea if they really are ballots. We have no idea if they're signed, if they're postmarked properly.
Plus, in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Georgia, the president's campaign is suing to halt ballot counting. They allege their campaign has not been given fair access to oversee the process. The president tweeting, "The damage has already been done to the integrity of our system and to the presidential election itself." Pennsylvania's governor and secretary of state have asked for patience.
The returns are taking a little longer than we're used to, but that's actually a good sign.
We will oppose any effort, every effort, to at any point shut down the vote.
The Trump campaign believes there are states which have been called for the former Vice President Joe Biden, like Michigan and Arizona, which will ultimately be red once the final counts are in.
After midnight, and you're going to see the tightening of that race.
In addition to the lawsuits, the Trump campaign has also requested a recount in Wisconsin. That's a state Joe Biden is projected to have won. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
While counting is still going on in a handful of states, local officials say it could be some time before we have a definitive winner. KOAM's Chris Warner has more.
In a typical presidential election, we typically have a good idea of who the winner will be that night. But this year, we didn't. Jasper County Clerk Charlie Davis says the only other time that happened was in the 2000 election between George Bush and Al Gore. He says this one could take a bit longer to decide.
The thing about this election is I don't think it's going to be decided in a few days. I think it's going to be decided in weeks or months because I'm sure that there's going to be some court challenges that may potentially go up to the Supreme Court.
In our election Instapoll, we asked you, how confident are you that votes will be counted properly nationwide? Well, 63% of you said you weren't confident, while only 26% said you were. So we went to Mercy Park in Joplin to see how residents feel.
When you get one vote that's in Arizona and you call it for, another candidate, it just doesn't make sense. I don't understand that, how that could happen. So I just don't trust it.
Yes, I think they will. I think there may be some discrepancies, but for the most part, I think they will be accurate.
I would say I'm 90% assured that they will be. With our automated process that's in effect, I think it should and could work.
Davis says he feels that people have confidence in local vote counting.
Talking to the people that have come here and voted absentee, because we voted almost 7,000 people in person absentee, and people were excited. People were really energized as saying, so it goes into the machine immediately. It's like, absolutely. And they felt that their vote actually counted.
In Joplin and Carthage, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
To keep up on the latest national numbers in the race for the presidency, you can visit our website, KOAMNewsNow.com, and just click the link at the top of the page. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor one of our four state heroes. Henry Letzner served U.S. Army from 1942 to 48. Native of Columbus, Kansas, Letzner was stationed in Germany, France, also Belgium. We are very proud to thank Staff Sergeant Henry Letzner. He is tonight's four-state hero. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast, and a bit later, going to see how adults can learn a thing or two about patience from the kiddos.
Well, it definitely turned out to be another nice day for us today. Temperatures fantastic, mid to upper 70s across the region. We've actually had a really nice stretch of weather over the past 5 or 6 days since we saw all the rain and even a little bit of ice. Gosh, last week, especially early parts of last week, but we've been in this stretch of just not much going on. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, a lot of clouds for us today, mid and upper level clouds, but it has actually turned out to be a pretty good day. Temperatures past couple days, 70s yesterday, dropped back into the 50s, 70s once again for us today, and it looks like we are going to see pretty good conditions continuing for the next few days. Look at our temps, still 60 in Nevada, 61 in Anderson, 59 in Carthage. Miami, much of the same. Chitopa, Chanuta's at 61. We're just not going to drop off too much more tonight due to our south winds, which are kicking in. So south winds at about 5 to 10 to 15 miles per hour, and that will actually keep our temperatures up just a little bit. But it looks pretty good. Currently outside, we sit at about 60 south winds at about 5 to 10. Humidity is at 49%. We do have these clouds which continue to work through. Now, underneath the clouds, there's nothing going on, so we aren't seeing any moisture, but these clouds will continue to push through. And I do think with this weak little wave, our temperatures for us tomorrow may be 2, maybe 3 degrees cooler. But we have these clouds, and besides that, nothing is going on. You got to go all the way out into the Gulf of Alaska, but you can start to see storm systems lining up, and those will start to affect us by the time we head into early next week. Tonight's fine, just these clouds work through. Here's 7 a.m., lower 50s. So when you wake up in the morning, if you're getting up early, 52. South winds at about 5 to 15. Quick warm up through the 50s, 60s, near 70 by noon. Hair cooler tomorrow, but still great. High temp right around 73. South winds at about 5 to 10. Not quite as strong as what we did see today, but everybody across the board, the entire 4-state area looks pretty good. A few clouds try to sneak back in tomorrow night, so we'll call it partly cloudy skies. And then heading into Friday, another great day. Right back up into low to mid 70s. Friday night, high school football, fine. Saturday, we do it again, near 70. We're going to take off about 1 or 2 degrees each day, so we're slowly going to cool off, but it looks pretty good. We have a system across southern plains, so as we head toward the weekend, we're going to be focusing out to the west. Next big storm system. We got actually 2 systems next week. So here's Sunday. We may start to get a little bit of moisture trying to work in. A little better chances for rain on Monday night, and then into Tuesday with this next system. But until then, again, we just don't have too much going on weather-wise over the next few days, which most people are okay with. 73 tomorrow, 73 Friday, 72 on Saturday, and then slight chances for rain late Sunday. So most of the weekend looks pretty good. Better chances for rain on Monday and Tuesday.
We have been very fortunate with temperatures.
Yeah, I mean, minus last week.
Yeah,
it was
true.
in the 40s, but the past few days, pretty good.
Yeah. All right, Doug, we'll see you in a little bit.
Yep.
Thanks, man. Coming up, an area kindergarten class gives a few tips on remaining patient during these tense times. This next story is a little bit ironic. Okay, if you're a parent, you know having kids are a blessing. They're your flesh and blood. You love them. But God knows sometimes they can be, kids think they're smarter than you. In my case, my kids probably are smarter than me. But nonetheless, election years also can be very stressful, especially now as people await results from a tight presidential race. But the key to stress relief might be patience. And KOAM's Caitlin Shives spoke with a Webb City kindergarten teacher who takes us back to the basics.
We all learned at an early age to practice patience, but now more than ever that lesson rings true as we sit back and wait to hear the final results of the 2020 presidential election.
We have become a society that we get things immediate, and it's fantastic to have all that technology, but in the real world, we still have to wait our turn and we still have to practice that patience. And as adults, it's important for us to model that to our kids.
In stressful situations like waiting longer than expected for election results, we may be feeling frustrated or angry. Kindergarten teacher Karen Dingman says it's all about going back to the basics we learned as kids to help us deal with trying times.
There are a lot of things that we'll test our patience when we're driving down the road, when we're waiting our turn in a drive-through line or at a store to check out. There are plenty of opportunities to practice that patience, and the same skills that we teach our kindergartners are the skills that we need as adults too.
Deep breathing, distracting yourself with other things, and just simply walking around can help lessen those feelings of impatience. 5-year-old Kobe says he doesn't mind being patient, waiting for his turn on the playground or for show and tell, but it can be hard for him sometimes having patience with family.
What about when you're at home with your parents? Do you ever have to practice patience there?
Oh.
No?
A lot.
You do?
Yeah.
With what?
With my little nephew.
And even I got a lesson in patience, trying to connect with kids while they're preoccupied with toys.
Tell me maybe a story about when you've had to do that.
Almost everywhere I go.
Why's that?
Because when we go to the playground, whatever I get on, he gets on.
Really?
And whenever we play baseball, whatever I throw, he goes and just gets it.
How does that make you feel?
A tiny bit mad.
Really? Is that when you really have to be patient with him because he is younger than you?
Yes.
Patience and kindness go a long way. Being able to sit back and wait our turn and know that no matter what happens, it's going to be okay.
In Webb City, Caitlin Shive, KOAM News.
Deep breath. You can find more on this story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Just ahead, focusing attention to Capitol Hill.
Republicans rallying on Tuesday, hoping to keep control of the Senate and slice into the House Democrats' majority. I'm Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill. More on that story coming up.
Was a nail-biter in Tuesday's elections, both for the president and for control of Congress, but it looks like congressional Republicans had a big night, cutting into the Democrats' House majority, possibly breaking even in the Senate. Fox News correspondent and congressional correspondent Chad Pergram has more now from Capitol Hill.
After more than a year of campaigning and billions of dollars spent, we still don't know which party will control the Senate. It was a better night than expected for Republicans. They fended off strong challenges to incumbents in Iowa, Montana, and South Carolina, while flipping a Democrat-held seat in Alabama. But there are still a number of races too close to call, and both sides are digging in for what could be a long legal fight over control of the Senate.
Both sides are lawyered up in Georgia, North Carolina, Maine, both sides. Going to court is the way we resolve uncertainty in our country.
It was a similar story in the House. Democrats underperforming in battleground districts where Joe Biden won, failing to flip a number of Republican seats, while also losing some they won from the GOP in 2018. The losses put pressure on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and could mean a possible leadership challenge.
Our House Democrats, it's not just about the quantity, it's about the quality of leadership that they provide for our country.
But with a weakened House majority, it's unclear if Democrats will be able to make any headway on their legislative priorities. And Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy says he'll push the Speaker to move to the center on a number of issues.
We'll be able to have a very big say or even run the floor when it comes to policy.
If Pelosi does retain the Speaker's gavel, she says her top priority is to pass a new coronavirus stimulus package. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Leading up to yesterday's election, local party committees put in a lot of work trying to secure votes for their candidates. On the Republican side, the Southwest Missouri Republicans opened their office in Joplin back in June. Southwest Missouri Democrats had worked just as long. And now with Election Day behind us, results being still counted, of course. Nonetheless, both committees are taking a break. Then we'll be right back to work.
We'll start having meetings and talking about local issues, talking about legislative issues, talking about recruiting candidates, and talking about how we deal with ballot initiatives.
And we're going to continue to recruit candidates that we feel like would have the leadership skills to move Missouri forward.
Both committees are obviously still keeping a close eye on the close presidential election in particular. Coming up, how the Pittsburgh Parks and Rec Department is giving kids a chance to have some fun at home while still staying active. Times have really changed during this pandemic. This includes life inside the home itself, but the Pittsburgh Parks and Recreation Department has a new way to let kids know, in particular, something very important. They are still important, and they can still have fun. It's called OK Kids Day. Families can compete in several physical activities posted on the department's Facebook page. With each completed activity, families post a photo in the OK Kids Day Facebook events to be entered to win a grand prize.
Having fun, being able to enjoy that interaction with people, because right now people are probably really having a hard time with COVID in the pandemic, getting that one-on-one. But since you're with your family and your friends, your close friends, we're hoping that it'll be safer.
OK Kids Day runs through November 14th. Still important, of course, to make sure the kids are loved, right? And you have fun with them, you interact with them. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away. Some Missouri Southern students getting a virtual lesson in real-world art career opportunities. Plus, City of Duquesne, Missouri, getting nearly $100,000 to develop a new trail. Russ Moreland, the superintendent of the Monette School District, passed away unexpectedly yesterday. The assistant superintendent says Moreland was a valued mentor, colleague, and friend. Have a few more details in the case of Leora Hardy, a Joplin teenager who went missing and was later found safe in Wisconsin. Leora's dad says her daughter is back home tonight in Joplin. Also, the police chief over in Wisconsin, the Wisconsin town in particular, where she was found, says officers found Leora and reported it to Joplin police. Previously, Joplin police said Leora turned herself in. More details are expected to be released tomorrow. A Joplin woman who is accused of abandoning her husband's corpse has lost a motion to get the body back. The judge dismissed Barbara Waters' lawsuit that sought to recover her husband's body and some documents that were taken during the investigation. The suit was dismissed without prejudice because of the plaintiff Waters' quote, failure to respond to court directives. Back in December of 2019, prosecutors charged Waters with abandonment of a corpse after police discovered her husband's body in a freezer in the couple's home months after his death, officials say. Waters' case was ultimately dismissed when a Jasper County judge ruled the evidence did not prove that Waters intended to abandon her husband's body. Jasper County Health Department is reporting 4 more deaths because of COVID-19. The people include a woman in her 80s, 2 men in their 80s, also 1 man in his 60s. This brings the total Jasper County deaths attributable to COVID-19 to 59. Now, Newton County is reporting 2 more deaths, bringing their total to 35. Officials say it was a woman in her 60s, also a man in his 70s. And over in Joplin, which reports its COVID-19 deaths separately from Jasper and Newton counties, officials say COVID-19 was significant in the death of an 86-year-old man. Joplin now has 37 deaths connected to the coronavirus. Federal Highway Administration is handing out more than $1 million in grants for trail development, and Duquesne, Missouri is getting some of that dough. The town is getting more than $96,000 for the development of the Duquesne Memorial Trail.
I think it's huge for the city to have something like this just because it's going to give them a place where their citizens can come. It's not just going to attract, people in Duquesne, but it can attract people from outlying areas.
City of Cattsville is also getting a grant, so they're going to get more than $53,000 for improvements at the South Park Trail. Students at MOSA, Missouri Southern, got to learn about career opportunities in the art world. There is a Business of Art Symposium where businesses and visual arts professionals presented insight into the business end of professional art careers.
If you're a studio artist, what you're going to be doing the rest of your life is basically you're going to be a self-employed business person. And people kind of forget that we are basically small industries.
The symposium was made available for free on Zoom for students, also the general public. A bit later, how the world is watching.
Everyone is waiting to learn who the next president will be, and that goes beyond US borders. I'm Benjamin Hall in London with worldwide reaction to the election. Coming up.
Well, it turned out to be another great day for us today. Temperatures fantastic across the region. Most of us went into the mid, if not upper 70s during the afternoon, which, hey, we'll definitely take. Great time-lapse Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, we had a lot of mid in upper level clouds, but in general, it turned out to be just a fantastic day. Temperatures over the past couple days, mainly into the 70s. Election Tuesday, we dropped back into the 50s, 70s again for us today. In fact, we're going to stay in the 70s over the next several days. Not a lot of changes until early next week. 58 in Parsons, 59 in Miami, 59 in Anderson. Lamar is sitting at about 60 degrees. We have these south winds kicking in at about 5 to 10, upwards of 15 at times. And this will actually keep our temperatures up just a little bit for us tonight. So I think we'll only drop back lower 50s once again. We still have the clouds up top. Currently outside, we are sitting at 60 south winds at about 5 to 10. Humidity is at 49%. And you can see these clouds working through. There's just no moisture underneath them, so we aren't seeing any rain. But again, we're going to have the clouds throughout a good chunk of the overnight hours tonight. You can see the clearing line kind of right across eastern Kansas down through central parts of Oklahoma. Besides that, there's not too much going on until you get out into the Gulf of Alaska. That's where our storm systems are starting to line up, and those are going to be the ones that will start to affect us by the time we head into next week. For us tonight, just kind of in and out of the clouds, we'll drop back lower 50s for overnight lows. So we'll start at 52 during the morning hours, but a very quick warm up through the 50s, 60s, I think near 70 by noon. We'll have the south winds at about 5 to 10. We should go 73, 74 once again by the time we head into the afternoon hours. So another great day on tap for us across the entire four-state area. Let's go into tomorrow night, and then we'll head into Friday. A few clouds will start to work in, so partly cloudy skies. And then Friday looks pretty good. Partly sunny, right back up into lower 70s during the afternoon. Friday evening, high school football is going to be fine. We'll be into the 60s. Then we can go into Saturday. Also looks pretty good. So let's go down the road. We got a weak little wave. We're heading into the weekend. A weak little wave across the southern parts of the plains, which fits our pattern just about perfectly. And then we'll start to get some stronger storm systems. They're going to kind of rotate around each other out in the western third of the country. But eventually we'll get some moisture in here late Sunday, some rain chances on Monday, and then a little bit cooler as this system rotates by on Tuesday. We'll stay kind of cool, and then another system rotates in by Thursday. This could give us rain, possibly over to a little bit of snow next Thursday and Friday, so we'll keep our eyes on that. 73s Thursday, Friday, 72 Saturday, 74 Sunday, slight chance for rain late. Better chances for rain Monday and Tuesday. Veterans Day is on Wednesday, a little bit cooler. High temps into the mid-50s. So let's go down the road. So let's finish up next week. You can see we have that system on Thursday and Friday, maybe a little rain or snow. We kind of stay cool into next weekend, and then we'll start to warm things back up just a little bit by the time we head into the third week in November. So now we're looking at Sunday, the 15th. We'll start off cool Sunday and Monday, go back to mild temperatures for the middle of the week. First half of the week is going to be dry, and then we'll see some rain chances cooling us down as we head into the weekend of the 21st and then also the 22nd. So now we're into Thanksgiving week. Look at this. We'll have those rain chances on Sunday, but mainly mild throughout the week. We'll have rain chances as we head into Thanksgiving, but I really think mainly mild as we head through Thanksgiving week. And then as we head into the holiday weekend, that's when it will cool back down and we could see rain, possibly over to snow chances the weekend after Thanksgiving. And then as we wrap up the month, we have two storm systems at Monday and Tuesday, so right at the end of the month, and then right around the 4th and 5th of December. So not a ton of storm systems, but temperatures kind of all over the place, which they usually are in November.
But still pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad.
Okay. While this presidential election, I'm having a good night tonight. First of all, I messed up and then I apologize. While this presidential election may stand out to seasoned voters, for plenty of four-staters, this was their first or even second time voting for president. KAOM's Mike Mahoney spoke to members of the Pitt State University College Republicans to find out what they thought of election night in America.
As our nation waits for the results from the 2020 presidential election, a handful of things are clear. Those landslide predictions were off, and America remains a country divided.
I think this election just kind of reflects right? Some of those things, right? I mean, more competition, more polarization, but also as a consequence, right, higher turnout.
High voter turnout was certainly unique about this year's battle for the White House, but so is the fact that we still don't know the winner. That's not typical for the information age, but for many younger voters, including the PSU college Republicans, it was more weird than nerve-wracking.
I wouldn't say it was crazy, more just weird, because there really wasn't any big events, no big surprises in my opinion.
While many Americans were glued to their couches, these college Republicans were busy at the Jake LaTurner watch party.
I set my focus on the congressional race and the Senate race in the state, and then because I knew that the ballots wouldn't come in for the national race until probably later.
For the PSU college Republicans, there was more anxiety the day after Election Day, when Wisconsin and Michigan started to trend blue.
We were looking for answers, and we were giving our own theories on what was going on, what the Secretary of States for both those states were saying, what news media were saying. We're taking all that in and making our best guess.
I reached out to PSU's college Democrats for reaction as well, but they said because of the pandemic, they weren't doing face-to-face interviews. In Pittsburgh, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
While the Pittsburgh State University campus Democrats would not talk to us on camera, they did provide us with a statement saying, quote, "We can't say much about the election at the moment as the situation is clearly still developing. We believe in the integrity of the election, the fact that every vote should be counted and that results or victories should not be called until all votes are counted," end quote. Coming up, we're going to hear from the Nevada High School football team head coach and how the program has turned around in recent years. Nevada Tigers are still alive in the Missouri Class 4 football playoffs. The Tigers won their first playoff game since 2017 last Friday. Sports Director Jacob Leonard tells us how this year is not just a comeback year for the program, but also for a senior on the team.
Nevada senior Caden Denny is finishing his high school career the right way.
I'm very fortunate for it. Very fortunate that I got to finish this season.
Denny missed all of last season due to injury. He was on the sideline while the Tigers finished 0-10 overall.
I think that was tough on him to be unable to play and unable to do anything to help us.
It put me out, football and basketball, and then COVID ended track, so I didn't get to play a single sport all last year. So I put in a lot of work in the weight room and outside of school to try and keep my speed, keep my size, you know. It was a long process. It was a really long process for me.
Denny is finishing his career on a high note. He rushed for 190 yards and 3 touchdowns last Friday, helping the Tigers win their playoff opener over Harrisonville.
I think he's one of those young men that is a once every 5 to 10 years talent. You know, he's got good speed. He's also a physical runner for his size, and he's just explosive.
The team is now 7-3 and in the district semifinals, 1 year after going winless. Coach Beechler credits Denny and the rest of the leaders on the team for the turnaround.
They keep practice upbeat. They keep it pretty intense. They police each other. We don't have to say a whole lot when practice starts to get a little bit flat. They pick it up on their own.
Being back on the field is already a success for Denny. Winning Friday and having a chance to play for a district title would just be icing on the cake.
I think it would mean a lot to everybody. I mean, I can't remember the last time Nevada's been to a district championship. I can't remember the last time they've been that far in the playoffs. So I think it'd mean a lot for Coach Beechler, for this team, and probably even more for the community.
In Nevada, Jacob Leonard, KOAM Sports.
Nevada is going to face Elias Catholic this Friday night for a spot in the Class 4 District 6 championship game. Back with more news after this. Tight races in several battleground states remain undecided, and with the fate of the presidential election hanging in the balance, Americans are paying close attention to the outcome. But they're not alone. The interest in who's going to be the next president goes beyond our borders. Fox News correspondent Benjamin Hall has worldwide reaction from London.
The world is watching as Americans anxiously await the results of the presidential election, with President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden tightly locked in a battle for the White House.
I think everybody, no matter who you are, is really focused on the outcome of this election.
Tuesday's election returns were reported on news channels across the globe, and many waking up Wednesday morning to see the pending results dominating headlines in foreign newspapers. While a handful of states are still counting ballots, a spokesperson of German Chancellor Angela Merkel said this about the process.
The German government has confidence in the democratic traditions and the lawful institutions of the United States of America.
As the occupant of the Oval Office hangs in the balance, so does the shape of how America will respond to foreign policy over the next 4 years. But governments say they are committed to working with whoever wins.
The Kremlin and other political institutions in Russia are ready to work with any presidents.
And it's not just officials. Everyday citizens say their life will be impacted by the outcome too.
There's so many things that will be decided in the next couple of years, the direction of the country and the direction of the world, depending on who is elected president of the United States.
It's unclear how long it will take to finalize election results, especially with lawsuits and recounts pending. In London, Benjamin Hall, Fox News.
When we come back, we're going to learn about a new thriller starring Kevin Costner and Diane Lane. Man of Steel co-stars Kevin Costner and Diane Lane re-team on screen for a new family drama. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has the story.
Go careful.
Kevin Costner and Diane Lane team up for the suspense thriller Let Him Go. They play a married couple fighting to rescue their grandson from a dangerous family living off the grid.
There's authenticity about the problem that's looming.
Our grandson is fatherless. Our daughter-in-law remarries, and it ain't good. So what are you going to do when that's your last inhabitant of your DNA?
You're with me on this, right? For Lane, the film is much more than a thriller. She says it's a story that focuses on family dynamics and different types of mothers.
We have 3 different renditions of what it is to be a mother in this. We have a weak mother, we have an overbearing bully of a mother, and we have a mother who is grieving and trying her best to salvage kindness. And she's willing to fight for kindness.
The project reunites the actress with Costner. They previously worked together playing the adoptive parents of Superman in Man of Steel.
We knew that we wanted to work together again, and I felt very grateful that he vibed the screenplay as much as I did.
She's a world-class actress. I mean, there's a handful of them, and it's everybody thinks they can do it, but not everybody can do it. It's just something that she has always had, and she's also built on it.
Don't start what you can't finish.
Let Him Go opens in theaters this Friday. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Going to leave you with video of a panda playing in some snow in China. Not a care in the world. Isn't that awesome? Whoa! Oh! Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.